Revealed how one amazing secretary inspired 100 employees and transformed a fearful CEO's heart. Sarah smiled as she handed out her signature handwritten notes, reminding each of her coworkers that they mattered. The air in the office buzzed with a palpable mix of anxiety and hope. Everyone felt it, the ominous whispers of layoffs intertwined with their own personal struggles of everyday life. As she walked past the break room, where the dim light flickered over leftover sandwiches, there was something more than stale bread filling the air. It was community. It was family. Life at the mid-sized manufacturing firm in downtown Chicago had shifted. The CEO, once a proud beacon of inspiration, was barely holding himself together. His hunched shoulders and downcast eyes told stories of sleepless nights spent worrying about numbers that weren't adding up. The economy was a cruel mistress, and she had cast a shadow over everyone. Employees pressed against the harsh reality of mounting debts and stagnant paychecks leaned on Sarah, not just for work-related matters but because her warmth was a lighthouse amid a storm. She started weekly potlucks, where homemade meals filled the room with laughter. Each dish bore stories of heritage and family, igniting conversations and evoking fond memories of comfort. Sarah's compassionate presence wrapped around her coworkers like a warm blanket on a cold Chicago winter night. The air felt lighter with every shared smile and compliment. Together, they were creating a haven, one that felt intimate and familial. But then, the unthinkable hit home. Sarah received the call she was dreading. Her mother had been rushed to the hospital, the stark reality of life crashing in on her. For a fleeting moment, she felt lost in an overwhelming void. Her fingers trembled as she put down her pen and stared blankly at her desk. Torn between the obligations to uplift her coworkers and the urgent need to care for her ailing family, she felt the heart-wrenching pull of loyalty and love collide. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined to be an unwavering force, Sarah hosted an appreciation day for the entire staff, filling the office with flowers and heartfelt speeches that echoes like sacred hymns. The employees cheered, they talked in hushed tones, admiration dancing in their eyes as the CEO, usually so melancholy, appeared touched. The atmosphere crackled with a renewed sense of hope. Could they truly turn things around? But the tides turned once more. The financial reports came in, and the smiles faded. The layoff whispers swirled around her like thick fog. Sarah sat at her desk, a sense of unease washing over her as she glanced around the office. Her co-workers' faces reflected her internal struggle, needing her as their anchor when she felt like she was sinking. What would she choose, her family's urgent need or her colleagues' desperate whispers of hope? As the air thickened with uncertainty, Sarah felt the weight grow heavier, forcing her to confront the hardest decision of her life. Each heartbeat echoed the growing dilemma, ringing with urgency as the question hung ominously in the air: how could she lift them up when her own spirit wavered? The story was just beginning, and the choices before her felt monumental as Chapter 2 loomed in uncertainty. The next few days blurred together for Sarah, a whirlwind of emotions and responsibilities consuming her. Each morning, she would sit in her car outside the hospital, heart racing as fear gripped her. Her mother was stable but still needed tests and care. Yet, inside the office, her coworkers looked to her for reassurance, their faces filled with anxiety and hope. During lunch breaks, she tried to maintain a brave face, cracking jokes and arranging the next potluck, but the joy felt different now. The laughter seemed hollow, and her smile was starting to fade. How could she be the one to inspire when her well of strength was running dry? With every heartfelt note she wrote, her handwriting trembled, a reflection of her inner turmoil. That Friday, Sarah found herself back at the hospital. Sitting by her mother's bedside, she felt the weight of her choices. Conversations about pressing family matters flowed into her mind, drowning out the worries of the office. But as she held her mother's hand, she realized she was torn. Each family update she received felt enriched by the care and community she so desperately wanted to provide for her co-workers back at the plant. They were intertwined, each impacting the other like threads in a tapestry. She couldn't help but think about her co-workers' faces, the ones who relied on her for motivation. They had been open about their struggles, and she had become their safe space. But sometimes being a safe space meant bearing the storm alone. Finally, a glimmer of clarity cut through her haze of confusion. She needed to be honest. About her fears. About her mother. About everything. That night, Sarah prepared to send a message to the entire office. She decided to write a memo that would lay bare her heart. They were grappling with the same fears and anxiety about layoffs. She was just as human as they were. If she could show vulnerability, perhaps they all could lean on each other. When Monday rolled around, a palpable tension filled the office. As her colleagues shuffled in with downcast expressions, Sarah stood before them, her hands trembling slightly as she held the memo. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in rhythm with the anxiety in the room. "Can I have your attention, please?" Her voice pierced through the murmurings, commanding focus. As she read aloud her message, she felt her courage swell. "I wanted to share something personal. My mother is in the hospital, and I've been feeling torn between my duties here and wanting to support my family." The words poured out, and she raced through the fears and concerns that had been shadowing her. Silence enveloped the room. Then, one by one, her co-workers began to nod, their expressions shifting from uncertainty to empathy. When she finished, the silence morphed into a hum of understanding. "It's okay to not have it all together," someone finally spoke up, a soft voice laced with realization. "We're all going through our own battles." A sense of relief washed over Sarah. There was power in sharing, even in weakness. They were not alone, they were a team. The clouds of worry began to lift, replaced by a spirit of supportive camaraderie. But just as hope flickered, a sudden notification on Sarah's phone caught her attention. It was the finance department's email titled "Urgent, Immediate Layoff Proposals." Panic shot through her, stealing the breath from her lungs. What would this mean for her and her team? Could they withstand yet another blow? As she gazed around at her colleagues, hope and fear warring within her, she knew she had to prepare them for what might come next. The fight for resilience was far from over, and Sarah felt an inner resolve hardening within her. Could they face the storm together? Would they find the courage in uncertain times? The moment Sarah's eyes drifted back to her phone, her stomach churned. The subject line loomed like a thundercloud. Urgent. Her heart raced again, not just for herself but for everyone in the room. She couldn't let the fear wash away the hope they had just begun to cultivate together. "Listen, everyone," she said, trying to steady her voice. "There's been an email that just came in. It's about potential layoffs." The air thickened. Faces fell, uncertainty creeping back in like unwelcome shadows. Many exchanged worried glances. Voices dropped into whispers. Was it possible? After all they shared in that one hopeful moment, could they really be thrown into another storm? "I know this isn't easy to hear," Sarah pressed on, forcing herself to maintain eye contact, injecting every ounce of conviction into her words. "But if we work together, we can get through this. We need to be a team now more than ever." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Someone near the back shifted uneasily. "What can we even do?" "It's out of our hands." "Yes, it might feel that way," Sarah countered, a blend of frustration and determination swirling inside her. "But we have the power to support each other. We can create an environment filled with hope and positivity. We can show our value even in tough times." Their eyes brightened momentarily, processing her encouragement. However, a flicker of doubt remained. Could the power of teamwork really insulate them from such severe decisions? "Let us start brainstorming," she urged. "What can we do to stand out as a team? What projects need our focus? How can we improve our workflow? Every little thing counts." Her colleagues slowly began to nod. The session felt like a tiny ember igniting into a flame. Ideas flowed as they exchanged suggestions, ways to streamline operations, projects they were passionate about, and how to uplift one another each day. It wasn't a complete solution, nor did it eradicate all their worries, but it was a start. The seeds of resilience planted where fear had once flourished. Amid the discussions, Sarah felt a shift. The camaraderie was bubbling to the surface again. She listened to the voices around her as laughter and sparks of creativity returned. Each suggestion felt like a thread weaving them closer together. They were rallying that as the meeting wrapped, a member of her team approached. "You really think we can do this, Sarah?" he asked, vulnerability stark in his tone. "Absolutely," she replied, her heart swelling. "We may not have all the answers, but we have each other." As she left the room, a strange sense of calm washed over her. Maybe this unexpected challenge was a chance to rebuild, to deepen the connections that she had previously taken for granted. But just as she found a moment of solace, her phone buzzed again. That IT was a message from the finance department, this time a request for an immediate team meeting. Anxiety pulsed in her chest once more. The urgency screamed at her, reminding her how fragile their situation truly was. As she stepped into the hall and made her way toward the conference room, she couldn't shake the nagging sense of dread. What decisions awaited them? Were they going to face even more turmoil? Whatever was coming, she would face it head on this time, not just for her mother but for her team too. Could they withstand the nearing storm? Would unity break through the shadows of uncertainty? As Sarah entered the conference room, the tension in the air wrapped around her like a thick fog. She could see her colleagues seated at the large table, their faces a mixture of curiosity and concern. The finance officer, a tall man with sharp features named Greg, stood at the front with a clipboard in hand, his expression unreadable. The flickering fluorescent lights overhead added to the sterile atmosphere, contrasting sharply with the vibrant hope they had woven moments ago. "Thank you all for coming quickly," Greg began. His voice was steady but lacked warmth. "The email you received earlier referred to potential layoffs based on the current financial situation. We need to discuss this further." The room fell silent again, the vulnerability palpable. Sarah's throat tightened. There it was, the raw fear hanging like a dark cloud. She glanced at her team. A whisper from Lisa at the far end offered a clue. "Do they even care about us?" Greg continued, "We need to make some tough decisions soon, and for that, we're looking for input from you all. We want to hear your insights on how you think we can cut costs while maintaining productivity." His eyes scanned the room, lingering on Sarah momentarily. A knot formed in her stomach. How could they cut costs without hurting their team's spirit? She raised her hand, unsure if she should speak. "Before we dive into numbers, can we consider the impact of layoffs not just on the workload, but on morale?" Sarah's voice echoed faintly, yet she pressed on. "It's crucial to recognize that each one of us brings something unique to the team. If we start cutting people, we risk losing not just talent, but also our unity." Greg's gaze sharpened. "That's a fair point, Sarah. I'm curious if anyone has specific suggestions on where we might make savings." A few voices chimed in with ideas about budget cuts and project reductions. Each suggestion floated like a heavy stone, sinking into the growing worry around the table. Sarah felt a twinge in her chest as practicality overshadowed passion. Then, Josh, one of the junior staff from marketing, stood. "What if we harnessed each department's strengths to create a community project? Something that brings us all together while showcasing our skills outside the company context. It could reinvigorate morale and even drive business." A ripple of intrigue buzzed through the room. "Yeah. Like a charity event? Or a team-building workshop?" piped in Mia, her enthusiasm shining through. Sarah's heart lifted, hope flickered again. They were shifting gears, finding their voices even in this tumultuous moment. "That's it," she encouraged. "Community projects could be the spark we need to remind us of our impact and importance." Greg seemed taken aback, his brow furrowing in thought. "Interesting concept. Can you organize a proposal?" They locked in on each other, the air shifting from anxiety to possibility as ideas flowed. As the discussion expanded, Sarah watched her team revive, connecting not just about their work but about who they were. They were sharing dreams, past experiences, and laughter, things that reminded them they were more than just numbers on a balance sheet. "Let's take a break," Greg finally said, his clipboard under his arm. But before he walked out, he turned back, I'll need more input for the upcoming executive meeting. If we're going to weather this storm, we need everyone on board. The moment hung heavy. Sarah looked at her team, pride swelling inside her. They had ignited a flame of creativity and togetherness. But outside the room, storm clouds still loomed. Just then, another message pinged on Sarah's phone, a notification she never expected to see. The CEO had requested a personal meeting with her about their community project initiative. Her heart raced again. What did he want? Would this be an opportunity or a risk? As she gathered her thoughts, one question lingered: could she leverage this moment to ignite change at the top, and if so, what sacrifices would she need to make along the way? The streets outside buzzed with the familiar sounds of the city cars honking, people chatting, and the rhythmic clatter of heels on pavement. Yet, inside Sarah's head, everything felt muffled. She was staring blankly at her phone, mind racing in circles. The CEO wanted to meet her? What did that mean? Sarah leaned against her desk, surrounding herself with the warmth of her plant, a small token of her commitment to create a green workspace. She took a deep breath, feeling her heart pulse against her chest. She needed to prepare, to focus. This wasn't just about her, it was about her team and maybe even the future of the company. In the hours leading up to the meeting, she pored over notes and ideas from their earlier discussion. How could they present this community project as not just a band-aid for morale, but a real asset for the company? She wanted to impress upon the CEO that dignity and purpose mattered as much as profits. As she practiced her pitch, envisioning the room filled with her team's enthusiasm, she couldn't shake the feeling that urgency permeated the air. This was a chance to sway someone pivotal, to influence a tide that could wash away fear. When the time came, Sarah stepped into the tastefully decorated office of the CEO, the polished surfaces reflecting the glow from the large windows overlooking the skyline. Her heart thudded louder than before, but she squared her shoulders. This was her moment. The CEO was a formidable woman named Rebecca, her reputation for being tough in negotiations matched only by her empathy behind closed doors. Today, she wore a neutral expression that made it hard to read her intentions. "Sarah, thank you for coming on such short notice," Rebecca began, her tone friendly yet commanding. "Thank you for inviting me," Sarah replied, determined to maintain eye contact. "I wanted to talk about our community project initiative. I believe it could transform our culture and even our bottom line." Rebecca leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, and waited. With growing confidence, Sarah elaborated on how enhancing team unity could lead to improved productivity and lowered turnover. She told stories of the palpable energy in the conference room just moments after they started brainstorming about the community project. Excitement thrummed beneath her words, as if she were weaving a powerful spell. When she finished, she caught her breath, watching Rebecca closely. The CEO's brow furrowed in thought, and Sarah was met with a silence that felt like an eternity. "Interesting," Rebecca said finally, her words measured. "You believe lifting morale will also lift productivity?" "I do," Sarah said, a flicker of hope igniting within her. "If people feel valued and connected, they work harder and stay longer. They're not just cogs, they're a team. Our team." Rebecca nodded but then leaned forward, her gaze intense. "And what if it doesn't work? What if you put all this effort in, and we still face layoffs? What happens then?" The question hung heavily, and Sarah felt her throat tighten. She hadn't prepared for that direction. This wasn't just about costs, it was about lives. We can't control everything, but we can create an environment that fosters creativity and collaboration. "It could even turn things around," she responded, heart racing as she pushed through her doubt. "If we don't act, though, we risk losing everyone's trust. We need something positive to rally around." Rebecca studied her, the weight of the situation settling between them like an unshakable truth. With a sigh, the CEO uncrossed her arms and leaned back. "You've given me a lot to think about, Sarah. I appreciate your passion." As the meeting adjourned, Sarah left with her heart in her throat. She had poured everything into that conversation, but the uncertainty lingered. Could her vision spark real change, or was she just pushing against a brick wall? As she walked back to her desk, a realization struck her. This wasn't just a fight for jobs, it was a battle for hope. But just as she reached for her phone to update her team, a nagging feeling pulled at her gut. Had she done enough? In that moment of uncertainty, another message pinged, this time from Lisa. It simply read, "I heard some unsettling rumors about the board meeting, is it true?" And with those words, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her as she braced for what could be the storm before the calm. Sarah's heart raced as she stared at the message on her phone. Unsettling rumors? Her mind spun with possibilities. What could be happening behind those closed doors? Every nerve in her body felt electric. Anticipating the worst, she quickly tapped a reply to Lisa, urging her to come by her office for a chat. Anxiety bubbled up inside her. The meeting with Rebecca had been a step forward, but now she felt as if they were standing on the edge of a precipice, one wrong move away from disaster. Moments later, Lisa appeared at her door, worry etched across her face. "Hey, what is going on?" she asked, her tone low, almost conspiratorial. "I got this message from you," Sarah replied, showing her phone. "What do you know? Are there really rumors about the board meeting?" Lisa hesitated, glancing around as if checking for eavesdroppers. "Some people are saying they're discussing layoffs. Like, serious cuts. I overheard the lawyers talking in the break room." Panic surged through Sarah like a tidal wave. "This could undermine everything we're trying to build," she said, her voice shaky. "No kidding," Lisa replied, her brow furrowed. "If they start laying people off, all the goodwill we're building with this community project will go out the window." Sarah felt her stomach twist. "I have to talk to Rebecca again. Make her see that we need to create an environment where people feel safe. Otherwise, the team won't stand a chance." She stood up, determination flooding her veins. "This isn't just about a project, it's about people's lives." Before Lisa could protest, Sarah slipped out into the hallway, her feet carrying her toward the CEO's office with a new sense of urgency. She knocked lightly, but Rebecca's voice called her, and almost immediately, the CEO looked up, surprise breaking through her otherwise calm demeanor. "Sarah, I didn't expect you back so soon. What's on your mind?" I just heard some concerning news about potential layoffs," Sarah stammered, nervously brushing her hair behind her ear. "I wanted to address it with you." Rebecca's expression hardened. "It's true the board is discussing some difficult decisions," she said, allowing a moment of silence to weigh heavily between them. "The company needs to adapt." "Adapt?" Sarah echoed, a wave of frustration washing over her. "They're not just numbers on a spreadsheet, Rebecca. They're people with families, dreams, lives. If we strip that away, what do we have left?" Rebecca's gaze softened just slightly. "I understand you're passionate, but we are also facing economic realities. But isn't that why we need to invest in this community project?" Sarah implored, her voice gaining strength. "If we can demonstrate our commitment to our employees, it might just give them a reason to stay. To fight for the future of this company." Rebecca remained silent, studying Sarah as if weighing her words. It felt like she was building a bridge that was teetering on the brink of collapse. What if I could pull together a presentation?" Sarah continued, a spark of hope igniting as her mind raced with possibilities. "We could showcase real stories about how our team members have responded positively to the project. It could help shift the board's perspective." "I appreciate your ideas, Sarah," Rebecca replied cautiously. "But I can't promise they'll change everything. There are many considerations." "I know. But if we can show that investing in our people makes a difference, we may just win over some hearts, even yours," Sarah said boldly, feeling emboldened. Rebecca's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of intrigue sparking in her demeanor. "You're willing to put yourself on the line for this?" "I am, and so is our entire team. We want to believe in this company," Sarah proclaimed, passion igniting her words. Rebecca leaned back, her fingers steepled thoughtfully. "All right, let us see what you can put together." As Sarah left the office, a whirlwind of potential unfolded in her mind. She had gained the CEO's attention, but could she secure the future of her team? With renewed determination, Sarah reached for her phone, ready to rally her team and prepare for a new battle. What they had started could be something much bigger than herself, but before she could call anyone, another message buzzed through from Lisa: "Hurry." There's chatter in the break room. They're planning something. The stakes had just risen, and Sarah felt the air thicken with tension. Would this be the moment she and her team could turn the tide, or would they be swept away in the storm? Sarah's pulse quickened as she read Lisa's message again. She had no time to lose. The impending storm threatened to sweep away all they had fought for. With determination bolstering her, she swiped to dial Lisa. Pick up, she whispered, her fingers tapping impatiently against her desk. The phone rang twice before being answered. "Sarah?" Lisa's voice was low and urgent. "Tell me what's happening. What did you hear?" Sarah's tone was firm. "They said there's going to be a meeting, a big one, and it's about laying off staff. We need to rally everyone. I think this project is our last chance." Sarah's heart dropped. "Okay, I'll set up a meeting for later today. Let us gather the team and share what we know. We need to be united in this." "Right." Lisa agreed, and Sarah could hear the resolve in her friend's voice. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah dashed out of her office, calling out to a few team members she passed. She needed their support. They needed to feel the urgency that enveloped her. She could see the concerned looks, echoing her fears. By the time Sarah reached the community project hub, she was nearly breathless. Posters decorated the walls, heartfelt messages from community members about how the project had changed their lives. Sarah paused for a moment, absorbing the positivity that surrounded her amidst the chaos. "Everyone!" she shouted, gathering attention. "We need to talk. It's serious." Faces turned to her, some curious, some anxious. "There are rumors about layoffs hitting our company, and we can't just sit back and take it. We need to band together, showcase more than just numbers on a sheet. Our lives matter, our projects matter." Murmurs rippled through the group. Sarah locked eyes with Jenny, one of her teammates who had already been putting so much effort into the project. The fear was clear in her gaze, but a flicker of hope ignited as well. "How do we fight this?" Jenny asked, her voice trembling but determined. "We prove to them how powerful this project is," Sarah said, feeling the fire building in her chest. "Let us gather stories from every person who has been impacted by our work. Let's make it personal. Show them our success and the people behind it." Excitement bubbled up around the room, nearly drowning out all doubt. Slowly, the team began to rally, conversations buzzing with ideas on how to present their case effectively. Sarah felt buoyed by their energy. They were coalescing into something formidable. But beneath that was the uneasy reminder that she had just hours to pull this together before the board made decisions that could devastate them all. In the midst of this, her phone vibrated again, a new notification appearing. Holding her breath, she glanced at the screen. "Urgent, board decision happens at 4 p.m. Time was slipping away. "Guys, we need to get moving," Sarah urged. "Let us brainstorm and start collecting those stories we need." As they dove into their preparations, Sarah sensed a shift in the air. It was no longer just uncertainty. There was a flicker of determination, of community. Together, they could amplify their voices. But just as ideas started flowing, a chilling thought loomed. Would it be enough to sway the board? As the clock ticked closer to the meeting hour, Sarah stood on the precipice of something bigger. What would happen when they finally presented their hearts and their hope to those who held their futures in their hands? In that moment, Sarah realized they were ready for whatever came next. They were a team. But as everyone worked furiously, the door swung open, revealing Rebecca's stern expression just outside. "We need to talk," she said, her voice grave as everyone fell silent. Could this be the moment of reckoning they had all been dreading? Rebecca stepped in, her demeanor radiating authority. The room fell into a taut silence, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Sarah felt her heart pounding in her chest. She could see her teammates exchange anxious glances, uncertainty rippling through them like a wave. Everything we've worked for is on the line, Rebecca began, her voice steady but with an undercurrent of seriousness. The board is considering a directional shift. They want to streamline operations, which means layoffs. That single word hung in the air, heavy and dread-filled. Sarah's heart sank further, but she steeled herself. They weren't about to back down without a fight. Wait, Sarah interjected, finding her voice amid the rising tide of panic. We can make them see how crucial our project is. We've changed lives. If we gather enough stories and data. Rebecca held up a hand, cutting her off. I know. I'm here to help. Surprise flickered across Sarah's face. Help? But because I believe in what you're doing, and I hate to see it at risk. But we need to have a plan, and we need to execute it perfectly. The presentation you're preparing must show raw results. A flash of hope ignited in Sarah's chest. So you'll support us? You'll present with us? Rebecca straightened, the determination in her gaze stark. We don't have time for half measures. It has to be convincing. We need documentation, testimonials, and direct examples of how our project has impacted the community. I can arrange access to the data reports we have. Wait, Sarah hesitated. But will the board even listen? They seem set on these cuts. Rebecca's expression hardened. Sometimes a bigger truth needs to be spoken louder. We're not just numbers. Your work is real, it's transformative. With the right approach, you can change minds. As hope brewed within Sarah, she noticed Jenny and the others leaning forward, engaged. There was energy shifting in the room. This was their chance, and it was slipping from hope to action. Okay, let us break into groups, Sarah said, her voice steady. We need a list of stories to gather, testimonies we can present. Jenny, you lead that team. Rebecca, what do you suggest we include from the data? I can get the success metrics from last quarter and key figures of community engagement. Those numbers could be pivotal, Rebecca replied, her demeanor shifting to that of a guide. For the next hour, the room buzzed with activity. Ideas bounced like basketballs, and adrenaline fueled their collaboration. Sarah felt the collective energy surging anew. This was more than a project, this was their lifeline, their shared future. 10 minutes until the board meeting, Lisa called out, her voice urgent as she checked her phone. The reality of the situation made Sarah's stomach tie in knots. All right. I know we've been pushing hard, Sarah said, gripping the front of the table. But remember why we're doing this. This isn't just about jobs. It's about lives changed. Families supported. We are strong, and we have a purpose. Just as the room began to absorb that determination, Rebecca stepped forward, her voice raised above the low murmurs. And we need to present that purpose and win them over. Show strength in your stories. When you walk into that room, remember you're fighting for all of this. As they gathered their materials and squared their shoulders, Sarah felt her heart racing. She looked at her team, united and resolute. But apprehension gnawed at her. Would their efforts be enough to sway the board? Before she could ponder further, Rebecca stepped outside, signaling for them to follow. In that moment, Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, mingling with the adrenaline of hope. As they approached the conference room, the air thickened with anticipation. Sarah caught a glimpse of the board members seated around the table, their expressions unreadable. Ready? Rebecca threw a glance back over her shoulder, a flicker of encouragement dancing in her eyes. Ready, Sarah affirmed, gathering her courage as they crossed the threshold, but as the door swung shut behind them, a single thought raced through her mind. Was this the moment they would finally stand tall, or would it all crumble? That uncertainty hung like a storm cloud, threatening to pour at any moment. The room was a whirlwind of emotions. As the door clicked shut, a hush enveloped them. The long conference table stretched out before them, lined with the stern faces of the board. Each person sat, arms crossed and eyes piercing. They exuded skepticism, and Sarah could feel a visible weight dubbing the atmosphere. Rebecca stepped forward, exuding her usual confidence. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to present. Those words, simple yet strategic, broke the tension momentarily. Sarah felt the nod from Rebecca like a lifeline. She took a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs with determination instead of dread. Jenny, standing poised at her side with a stack of papers, gave her an encouraging smile. As Rebecca transitioned to outline their project, Sarah's eyes wandered over to the board members. She recognized a few faces from previous meetings. Some looked bored, others were engaged in whispered conversations. But one, the CEO, Mr. Wilson, had his gaze fixed on Rebecca, intrigued. Rebecca launched into the strength of their work, stories of struggle, resilience, and triumph. Visuals flashed on a screen behind them, smiling faces of families impacted by their project, data trends showing profound changes in the community. With each word, Sarah felt waves of pride swelling in her chest. This was more than numbers to her. It was lives transformed. In the midst of the metrics, Sarah caught a heartbeat of moments that truly mattered. A mother speaking on how support had kept her family from falling apart, a young girl's beaming face as she walked across a stage at graduation, a community coming together to lift each other up. Those stories bristled with life, radiating hope. As they moved into the testimonials, Sarah's role came. She stepped forward, heart pounding, adrenaline racing. These aren't just figures, she stressed, her voice steady despite the flutter inside. We've seen the emotional weight of our work through the eyes of those we serve. Each story you heard today isn't just touching. It's essential. While she spoke, Sarah glanced toward Mr. Wilson. He had raised an eyebrow, his expression shifting ever so slightly. Was that intrigue she saw? Or a flicker of doubt in his facade? As she concluded, a palpable silence enveloped the room. It felt heavy, like the air before a storm poised on the edge of a decision. Thank you, Sarah, Rebecca said, stepping in seamlessly. Now, the numbers speak for themselves. She showcased the impact data, stressing how each statistic correlated to the stories they had just shared. If we prioritize these changes, our work, we're not just saving jobs, we're preserving a lifeline for families. One board member shifted in her seat, visibly moved by the presentations. Another jotted notes, while a third leaned forward, actively listening. Sarah felt a spark of hope flare up again. Maybe, just maybe, they were reaching them, but as the presentation rounded to a close, Mr. Wilson's expression remained inscrutable. Was he convinced? Or was he just being polite, like they often had been before? After a moment of heavy silence, he finally spoke. While these stories are compelling, what assurance do we have that this will yield the results you're proposing? That question hung in the air like a challenge, a reality check on their wave of hope. Sarah swallowed hard. The weight of his words felt like a weight on her chest. They had to prove themselves. Rebecca cleared her throat, rallying her composure. With your support, we can implement targeted strategies to enhance impact. We are ready to adapt this project for greater success. As the board members exchanged glances, Sarah's heart raced. They needed to convince them, and fast. What could they show the board that would make them do more than just nod? Just then, Jenny raised her hand. If I may, she began, and Sarah felt a rush of gratitude for her friend's courage. Would her words tip the scale, or would they fade like a wisp of smoke? The electricity of the moment surged through the room, holding everyone in suspense. What would Jenny say? What impact could it possibly have on Mr. Wilson and the board? The clock was ticking, and with it, so was their last chance for hope. Jenny took a deep breath, steadying herself as all eyes turned toward her. We've gathered a petition, a collection of familiar faces who benefit from our project, she began, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. These are the people you haven't seen in the spreadsheets, but who are very much part of our family. Sarah felt a swell of pride for her friend as Jenny continued, her passion igniting a spark in the room. We have video testimonials from community members' families sharing how our work has turned their lives around. We're not just asking you to believe in numbers, we're showing you the heart behind them. She gestured toward the projector, and a series of smiling faces filled the screen, each one a testament to their collective effort. A young man spoke. "I was lost without support. This project gave my family a second chance." Gasps echoed softly around the room. Another voice chimed in. "My daughter graduates next month because of the mentorship I found through your initiative," a woman said, tears welling in her eyes. "This isn't just a program, it's hope." Each story danced through the room like the melody of a heartfelt song, pulling emotions to the surface. Sarah caught Mr. Wilson's gaze. His expression had shifted. Something was changing. Rebecca leaned in. "These are testimonies of change. We're not asking for handouts, we're offering a partnership that could redefine our company's legacy." It felt like a collective inhale. Could they sense the possibility? Could they feel the urgency of their plight? Then, the room fell into an echoing silence. The board members exchanged glances, and Sarah felt every heartbeat echoing in her ears, hope and fear tangling in a frenzied dance to Mr. Wilson studied the screen, lost in thought. After what felt like an eternity, he finally spoke again. "Your passion is undeniable. This community project does mean something, but can it survive this shift? If we commit resources, can we ensure tangible results?" "Absolutely," Sarah jumped in, her determination renewed. "We're ready to commit ourselves fully, not just as employees, but as a community. We will prove it with every step forward." "And if the results don't materialize?" he pressed, but now there was a hint of curiosity in his tone. "Then we'll take responsibility and adapt," Sarah replied firmly. "But I believe in this team. We'll show our worth, together." At that moment, something flickered behind Mr. Wilson's serious facade, a hint of recognition, perhaps even respect. The silence returned, but this time there was a different undertone. The board whispered amongst themselves, and a wave of cautious optimism spread through the air. "Okay, let us consider a pilot program," one board member spoke up, a kind-hearted woman with a soft voice. "Let us see how this works before we make any drastic decisions." A wave of relief coursed through Sarah. They were being heard. "Thank you. We'll prove that this can work," she exclaimed. The board continued discussing, and each vote passed felt like a light in the dark. Finally, Mr. Wilson turned to Sarah and Rebecca. "Let us reevaluate in 6 months. If it shows promise, we can discuss a more massive commitment to the community programs you've outlined." With the shape of a plan falling into place, a warm breath of hope flooded the room. As they thanked the board and exited the conference, Sarah felt a wave of strength wash over her. "Thank you, Jenny," she said with tears of joy shimmering in her eyes. They had faced the storm together, and they'd been reshaped by it. Together, they witnessed the shift from despair to resilience, from uncertainty to actionable hope. As they held onto each other's shoulders and exchanged radiant smiles, Sarah's heart swelled with pride for what they'd created, both as a team and as a family. The fight wasn't over, but they had found their strength in each other. "Let us keep moving forward," Sarah urged. "Let us make this project everything we dream it can be." With those words, they stepped into the bustling office once more, transformed and united, ready to embrace the challenge ahead. Side by side. Now, remember how Sarah inspired her coworkers? You need to subscribe now to catch more incredible stories that will show you how unity triumphs over adversity. This is the moment to show your support for the journey we embark on together. Leave a like now to fuel this passion and help the algorithm bring more stories alive. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this dose of motivation and transformation today. Let them feel the power of community.